Maverick News presents The Rick Walker Show. Defrag your mind.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rick Walker. Welcome back to the Maverick News Channel. Some technical problems here. We're going to adjust the lighting in just a second and fix a few things up. But we have plenty of information to share with you this evening. Thank you for joining us here. Welcome, Maverick family and everyone around the world. What are we going to talk about? Drones destroyed over Moscow again. And Leo takes a trip to the new Magic Mushroom store in his hometown of Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Stay with me. I'll be right back right after this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are Maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So, more drones over Moscow. I think there were about 5 of them in the last 24 hours or so, uh, shot down, or I believe 4 of them were shot down. One was taken down with electronic countermeasures. And we're not hearing much about it in the mainstream. Not well, barely hearing about it in the mainstream media, barely hearing about it at all, which is something I think we really should focus on, be concerned about, because these attacks within Russian territory are now becoming normalized, at least in terms of the distribution of information, news coverage, the way the public reacts to it. If you go back just a number of weeks ago, there were a couple of drones that were destroyed over the Kremlin. That raised real alarm bells and focused a lot of attention on the escalation of the conflict between Ukraine and Russia, NATO and Russia. Gave rise to concerns about possible nuclear war, rise to concerns about just escalation in general. And tonight, 5 drones over Moscow and taken down, hardly hearing about it. It's so typical of the public in the West. We overreact sometimes, most times, when stories first erupt, and then within a number of days or maybe weeks for big stories, we become desensitized. It gets pushed aside. We stop paying attention. And then the media stops paying attention because it's not generating clicks, it's not generating ratings. Well, tonight, I can tell you that in the early hours of this morning, the Russian Ministry of Defense acknowledged that they took down 5 drones. They intercepted them just before they reached the capital. There were eyewitness reports in at least 2 of these incidents where the eyewitnesses saw the drones flying in the direction of Moscow at low altitudes, maybe about 200 meters off the ground, and they came within distance of the city, getting as far as the New Moscow suburb to the southwest. So, according to Russian authorities, 4 of the drones, as I said, were shot down, and there is footage on social media that apparently depicts these drones being taken down. And I'm seeing a bunch of different stuff on social media, some of which I'm not sure if we can actually verify as being authentic. One of those drones was taken down using electronic warfare measures. Basically, they used jamming technology to mess up the drone's navigation system, because, of course, they all run and are guided by GPS. So no injuries as far as we know. The Russian defense forces, they jumped into action and took these things down. But it's the fact that these attacks are happening more frequently within Russian territory, which gives rise to concern, because it looks like we're getting more and more escalation within Russian territory. With the Biden administration making it clear that regime change is actually the end goal, that's what they want. The fact that we're seeing this within Russian territory suggests that, to me, that they keep getting a step closer to putting Putin's back up against the wall. And if he finds himself in a situation where he thinks that he can't win, then I think that's when we get to a point where we could be facing some sort of nuclear conflict. That's why also tonight the Russian ambassador to the United Nations is retweeting a video or sharing a video on Twitter, which talks about where he talks about um, the possibility of a nuclear conflict. And here's his post. Let me just call it up here on the screen for you. Dmitry Polyansky, who has been on this program, he'll be coming back on, I'm sure. He says, just a reminder to all Western warmongers, nuclear war isn't our choice, but in such a heated atmosphere, it can happen anyway by a mere human error, or it may be provoked by the Kiev regime, which by shelling ZNPP proved it doesn't care neither about Ukraine nor our planet. So here's this video, and I'm going to run this.
What would happen? What would
It's a video about what will happen or what would happen if we actually got into a nuclear war. Let's watch.
happen if there was a full-scale nuclear war between Russia and the United States? Based on non-classified data, the aftermath might go something like this. When one side launches nuclear missiles, the other side detects them and fires back before impact. U.S. submarine-launched ballistic missiles from west of Norway start striking Russia after about 10 minutes, and Russian ones from north of Canada start hitting the U.S. a few minutes later. The very first strikes are high-altitude EMP attacks, frying electronics and power grids by creating an electromagnetic pulse of tens of thousands of volts per meter. The next strikes target command and control, as well as nuclear launch facilities. Land-based intercontinental ballistic missiles take about half an hour to arrive. Major cities are targeted, both because they contain military facilities and to stymie the enemy's post-war recovery. Some cruise missiles take hours to reach their target. Each impact creates a fireball about as hot as the core of the sun, followed by a radioactive mushroom cloud. These intense explosions vaporize people nearby and cause fires and blindness further away. The fireball expansion then causes a blast wave that damages buildings, crushing nearby ones. The United Kingdom and France have nuclear capabilities and are obliged by NATO's Article 5 to defend the US. So Russia hits them too. Firestorms engulf many cities, where storm-level winds fan the flames, igniting anything that can burn, melting glass and some metals, and turning asphalt into flammable hot liquid. But the explosions, the electromagnetic pulse, and the radioactivity aren't the worst part. Nuclear winter is, caused by the black carbon smoke from the nuclear firestorms. The Hiroshima atomic bomb caused such a firestorm, but today's hydrogen bombs are much more powerful. A large city like Moscow, with almost 50 times more people, can create much more smoke. And a firestorm sends plumes of black smoke up into the stratosphere, far above any rain clouds that would otherwise wash out the smoke. This black smoke gets heated by sunlight, lofting it like a hot air balloon for up to a decade. High-altitude jet streams are so fast that it takes only a few days for the smoke to spread across much of the northern hemisphere. In the meantime, Earth gets freezing cold, even during the summer, with farmland in Kansas cooling by about 20 degrees centigrade or 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and other regions cooling almost twice as much. A recent scientific paper estimates that over 5 billion people could starve to death, including around 99% of those in the United States, Europe, Russia, and China. We obviously don't know how many people will survive a nuclear war. But if it's even remotely as bad as scientists think, then it has no winners, merely losers. It's easy to feel powerless, but the good news is that there is something you can do to help. Please share this video, because the more people know about nuclear war, the less likely it is that we'll start one.
True enough. And tonight, we're seeing both sides in this conflict accuse each other of launching drone strikes. Moscow accusing Ukraine of launching those drone strikes against Moscow with U.S. assistance. And at the same time, Ukraine is accusing Moscow of launching drone strikes against Kiev. And while all that is going on, peace talks or any kind of negotiations seem to be just, well, not even on the table. So here we have video of Western diplomats walking out, and it was time for Russian diplomats to speak as they were about to engage in these discussions. So let me just bring this up. Oh, hang on. I apologize. Computer went a little hair. Having some technical problems here tonight. Here we go. Let's try this again. So this is not really fresh footage. This is older stuff, but running it anyway, just to kind of give you a feel for where things are at. We've seen this stuff at the UN. Enough. That tornado out in Alberta, that was devastating, and it has now been given an EF4 rating. This is from a team of experts. They've classified this tornado, which tore a path of destruction near Carstairs, Alberta, on Canada Day, July 1st, as an EF4. The Northern Tornadoes Project, in collaboration with Environment Canada, has made that determination as of today after analyzing all of the damage that was left behind. So they went out there and they say that they were able to determine that the tornado had a maximum speed of about 275 kilometers per hour. It had a path length of 15.3 kilometers and a maximum path width of 620 meters. 12 homes were damaged, 3 were destroyed, 4 were left uninhabitable, and 5 others were damaged. So 12 homes in total affected, 3 destroyed, 4 left uninhabitable, 5 others damaged. So I have footage again of that tornado out in Alberta. We'll share that with you again because it is, hang on, let me just get rid of that. Devastating. It's just ripping everything up. An EF4. Later in the broadcast, Leo will join us. He went to a new store that opened in Windsor, Ontario. It's a magic mushroom store. Controversial? Illegal? Probably. So what's going to happen? The cops are probably going to show up and shut them down pretty soon. It's a new store. Anyway, he's going to have the story for us later on the broadcast. Let's take a little break here. We're probably going to go to the phones here shortly as well. Kind of mix things up a little bit because we've had a few nights where we haven't had an opportunity to kind of go to the phones and talk to people. So we'll go early, take some phone calls, and then we'll have Leo join us on the program later on in the evening. So we'll kind of flip things around here a little bit and do it a little different. Normally we do the calls after the program. So hang with me. More to come right after this.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
Okay, so tonight, big news as Israeli forces fired tear gas inside of a hospital in the West Bank in the city of Jenin. 125 people injured. This is a 2-day raid on the city, which is continuing. This, according to Doctors Without Borders. The tear gas fired inside that hospital rendered the emergency room unusable, and the emergency rooms and the rest of the hospital were filled with smoke. So we've also seen 11 Palestinians killed, 3 children included, and at least 120, as I say. Actually, tonight, I think the count is up to 125 injured. 20 of those people are in critical condition. And this is the biggest attack of its type in decades. So we're keeping an eye on that. We know that that camp in that community does not have access to drinking water because of damage from the raid. And initial estimates also show that most of the camp is now without electricity. So people there are struggling this evening. And we will continue to watch that. As I say, we're going to go to the phones because we're going to flip this broadcast around a little bit. And I know that we've had some engaging topics over the last few nights here. So maybe you want to comment on some of what we've covered over the last few days, or we can talk about other subject matter. It's entirely up to you guys. I'm going to leave it wide open. Here's the number to call. I'm going to get the phone call or the phone system set up.
Join the conversation. Call 1-833-975-3733. That's 1-833-975. Free. Speak up. Speak out. Make your voice heard. Maverick News. Fighting for freedom by defending your right to free speech. Be a Maverick. Join us.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
Okay, I'm back and getting the phone lines set up. It's a very strange thing, but the phone system works a little different these days. So after I set it up, it takes maybe 2 minutes or so for everything to come online. So I'm just waiting for that to happen. It's all set up though. With that being said, let me just give you the spiel on how you can call in. Once again, I'll put the number up on the screen for you. You can join the conversation at 1-833-975-3733. That's 1-833-975-FREE. And you can also support the show by liking, sharing, subscribing. Please hit that like and hit the just like it. I'm a little out of tune here tonight, I got to tell you. Like, share, subscribe. You know the routine. Subscribe on YouTube, subscribe over on Rumble, share on Facebook, hit the notification bell. You can donate at freedomreporters.com, or you can also donate to support the channel at maverickdonations.com. To be quite honest with you, I have a splitting headache tonight, and I've had it all day, so I'm a little out of sorts, quite frankly. So bear with me, but I'm doing my best to kind of fight through this thing. 1-833-975-3733 is the number to call. And we are ready now with the phone system. So let me get the proper configuration on the screen so that the audio pipes through. And here we go. That's the right way to go right there. So 1-833-975-3733. Just waiting for some calls now to come through on the system. And while we wait for that to happen, I'll run another brief promo and we'll be right back and we'll be ready to start taking your calls tonight.
We are Mavericks. We say no to the Trudeau and Biden New World Order. And to bugs. Because bugs are creepy and gross. And people should not eat bugs. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Hey, no! To bugs!
Fighting the Great Reset. By leading the Great Resistance. Maverick News. The antivirus programs for your mind.
Okay, so you can call at 1-833-975. And what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to show you what Leo did. He recorded a video, and we have this. He went to this new magic mushroom store in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. And this is a chain of magic mushroom stores, controversial, probably going to get the attention of the authorities. Let me bring this up. And he's going to join us later in the program, but we'll run this video now so you can see what this story is about. It's one of our top stories of the evening. And Leo will explain exactly what this is, why it's controversial, why he supports this kind of thing, and where this is likely to lead. Here we go.
But since I'm so popular in this stinking town, so I'm live on the strip. That's Olette Avenue. What we have here is Fun Guys. If you know anything about Fun Guys or fungi, magic mushrooms, microdosing for medical issues. So we got a few people going to tune in. This is on Olette Avenue. I think they just opened up today, if I'm right, if I'm correct. But since I'm so popular in this stinking town of Windsor, and being one of the first guys ever to be put through the grinders after legalization of cannabis, okay, it's still going through the grinders. I'm going to go in with the cameras blazing. I'm going to ask some questions. I don't want to put anybody on their faces on my Facebook Live. But let's check it out. I know a lot about this. Ring the doorbell. So I'm not going to put anybody in this video. But check this out. You got the menu board up here. This is new to Windsor.
Clearly.
When did you open today?
I have no idea. I hopped off the bus when I saw this.
Yeah, he hopped off the bus when he saw this. So my phone's been ringing off the hook all morning. Everybody's asked me about this business. I don't know who's behind it, and I really don't care who's behind it. When it comes down to microdosing with psilocybin, I'm all for it. So these are the products right now. Now, their demise here is probably going to be about the same thing as what I went through. But when you're an advocate and you believe in something, okay, and the science is out there, it's not just believing. The science is out there on microdosing magic mushrooms and what they could do for you, okay? These guys are taking the lead. It's called Fun Guys. I think they got about 13 stores all over the place throughout Canada. There's Shroomies on Yonge Street in Toronto. So they got the Mexican psilocybin Mexicana. I don't know if they're Cubensis, but this helps with anxiety, stress, all kinds of crazy things, believe it or not, right? The science is behind it. It's not just me making up science. Look into it. And if it's for you, it's for you. Oh, yeah, lots of people tuning in. I'm not going to put anybody's faces on here. The owner's not here, but the tender is. He don't own the place. He's just looking for a job, and he's got a job, right? So, hey, all kudos to him. And it's not illegal for me to buy some and eat them, period. But this is awesome. This is great. Kind of reminds me of that place called Compassion House. Look at the, I love this. I really do. The mural on the wall. A lot of work went into this place. Hey, Curtis, what's happening? When did you guys open? This morning? Wednesday. So I'm a few days late, but my phone's been ringing off the hook. And DMT, what's that all about, DMT? That's a tree bark, right? From the Amazon?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not too familiar with that stuff.
No, me either. I've never tried DMT. Back in my day, I've tried LSD plenty of times when I was in my 20s. That was the thing of our time, right? Do a hit of acid. And then the mushrooms, I can't count how many pounds of mushrooms I ate over the years. Where's this at? It's on Olette Avenue, so you better hurry up and get out here if you're interested. Because as soon as I walked in the door, they knew who I was, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's only inevitable that the police, if they went batshit over marijuana after the day of legalization, what are they going to do with this place? Right? So what should I try? You got any chocolate bars? You got mushroom bars? Yeah. Oh yeah, baby. Give me a mushroom bar. I'm not going to try it today. I'm going to eat my mushroom bar. What's in it? 1 gram or a half a gram? 5 grams of mushrooms in one bar? Damn, so I ain't eating that whole bar. What's your hours, brother? 11 to 11. And it's next to Vito's restaurant on Olette Avenue. Yeah, I'm due to do some microdosing myself the next long weekend, possibly. And what it does is resets my brain, believe it or not, and my body. Last time I did mushrooms, I think it was New Year's Eve. I ate a few mushrooms, and when I went to work on Monday morning, I felt like I was 21 years old again. My body was relieved. There was no stress. It was pretty cool. And that's the feeling I like, the aftermath. But one thing about mushrooms, don't overdo it. Okay, if he's got a chocolate bar that's 5 grams, I don't advise anybody that's not used to eating mushrooms to eat a 5-gram chocolate bar. I won't do it, and neither should you. Microdose it, half a gram, okay, at a time if you can, and see where you go from there. It'll be about 20, 25 minutes, and you should be getting to where you want to be. If you're not there, have a little more. So I better get out here before the cops come in here and take me to jail. Well, this is an awesome store, I'll tell you. I can't wait to see how it plays out for these guys, and they have my support 100%. We're not talking legalizing fentanyl or crystal methamphetamine or crack cocaine or soft cocaine or whatever, okay? Far from it. Nick Zimmer. Leo, you're sexy. You can't even see me, man. I'm getting old. Just next to the free, yeah, Frenchie's. Frenchie's, yeah, it's right next door to Frenchie's. I'm not going to put you in the video, bro. You get to go out the door. I'm just honored to be able to come in here, let everybody know. Okay, it's here. Hopefully it's here to stay. But yeah, it's the way it is. It's the way it is. But look at some of the prices on here. Milk dark s'mores. They got the calm, the energy, the mood, the focus, the micro. Whew. They got the gummy bears. The Gems regular, Gems vegan, micro magic gummies, hot chocolate, 5 grams. The Lucid tea, 7 grams of mushroom tea. Well, I got a story about mushroom tea about 30 years ago. And it's a crazy story about me playing poker with some of my best friends. I'm not going to tell you guys. I'll save that for another day. We got the white chocolate, chocolate crunch. Wow, Lizard King, Golden Teacher, and I got to go to work. What's DMT? Well, if you look it up on the internet, it'll tell you. There's a guy named Jerry Martin who just passed away in Vancouver who opened up the hard drugstore. I knew Jerry. I didn't like the idea of him opening up a hard drugstore in Vancouver. They have enough problems downtown. They have enough problems downtown and in Vancouver, and Jerry Martin just passed away the other day. But he was big on DMT, big on psilocybin, big on LSD. And the lineup's coming. I keep you guys out of it. But I got to get off here. I got to get to work, guys. Check it out if you can. Hopefully they're still open. It is what it is. Adios.
Okay, so Leo will join us in a little while, and we'll have a further discussion about all of that. Stay with me, and don't forget to call 1-833-975-3733 and join the conversation.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Join the conversation. Call 1-833-975-3733. That's 1-833-975-FREE. Speak up. Speak out. Make your voice heard. Maverick News. Fighting for freedom by defending your right to free speech. Be a Maverick. Join us.
And here's Chinese journalist Edward Zhu at the UN asking some pointed questions about the conflict in Ukraine.
Do you think the presence of the U.S. military in Syria is illegal or not?
That's not an issue that we're dealing with at this stage. There's been a war,
but is that because it sounds very familiar. This week we talk a lot about the UN Charter, the international law, and relative resolutions. But it sounds to me a foreign presence, foreign military based presence in another country without invitation sounds like something else to me. You know.
I'll leave your analysis to you. There's at this stage.
What's the difference between Syria, the situation in Syria, and the situation in Ukraine?
There's no U.S. armed forces inside of Syria, and so I don't have a. It's not a parallel situation.
You're sure there's no U.S. military personnel?
I believe there's military activity.
Yeah,
but in terms of ground presence in Syria, I'm not aware of that.
Okay, 5 U.S. service members were injured in that attack. If there were no U.S. service members in Syria, how could they got injured? That's weird, right? Should I ask you about that?
These games that are played, on the international stage. Oh, we're just going to supply weapons and money. As far as I'm concerned, as soon as you start selling weapons, supplying weapons, giving weapons, you're involved. It's like you give a gun to somebody and then you say, you just go over there and shoot that guy. It's really that simple. Oh, it's not our fault. We're just helping the guy defend himself. Here's a gun. Here's a tank. Here's an F-16. Keep fighting. Fighting for democracy. Let's go to our first caller of the evening. Let me bring this up. Okay, bring this back up. And there we go. And here's our first caller. Who do we have on the line tonight? Go ahead.
Well, it kind of started seeming like you weren't getting a call in, so I figured I'd.
Thank you. It's a little
You're welcome.
early.
How you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
Yeah, like it threw me. Yeah, I'm okay. I got home and turned the TV on and stuff, and you were saying, I'm firing up the lines, and I thought, oh my God, did I lose a few hours? I'm running to look at the clock.
Nobody was ready for it tonight. We went early. That's okay. So thanks for calling and saving.
Yeah, well, I hope. Hey, anytime. I'm just sitting here. Well, not sitting here. I'm in the kitchen making brown butter bites, and have you on my Bluetooth so I can multitask.
Brown butter bites. I've never had that. What's a brown butter bite? Is it like a brownie?
It's a carnivore thing.
Oh.
No, you just you melt down your butter to the point that it starts to change color, like get a little bit brown, and some people like it darker, and then you put it in the fridge so in mold so it solidifies, and you can eat them like that. They taste, it's kind of like a carnivore chocolate.
Oh.
Yeah, it's actually very good. I put it in my coffee, actually.
I see.
And yeah, it's a carnivore thing. And I got to still make my twisty bacon. So
twisty bacon. How do you? I don't know how to do. I'm such a simple guy. I just eat bacon. I don't make it twisty. I don't even know how, unless I burn it.
Well, you don't want to do that. No, it's another thing you can do, so you can kind of eat it like with a dip or whatever, and yeah, it's quite good.
Nifty. Carnivore
thing. That's the way I'm doing the carnivore thing. So yeah, so here I am with really hot butter in my hand, so I better not make some crazy moves. But yeah, so my Canada Day.
Yeah.
How was yours?
Mine was pretty uneventful here. I was just another day to, getting ready. We did the program on that day, of course, and covered what was going on, more or less, on Parliament Hill, and tried to get a handle on that. So, yeah, and Adrian, people there with their flags. We talked a bit about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't catch all of that. I was out and about Canada Day. I actually managed to not get one single mosquito bite. How about that?
That's an achievement.
Pretty amazing. It really was, actually. And oddly enough, I mean, I was expecting to have in-your-face propaganda, right? Because we're kind of acclimatized to expecting that now.
Yes.
And so I was kind of reluctant to go, but I'm glad I went because there was actually no propaganda. Normal flags everywhere, and some really great entertainment. Discovered there's a powerfully good singer here. Enjoyed listening to her band, and the only downside was this guy walked by. He was dressed kind of crazy, and I looked down, and you wouldn't believe the socks he was wearing.
What were they?
They were actual Trudeau socks.
Oh yeah.
Trudeau's face on his ankles.
Oh my.
And we all everybody at the table got this look on their faces, and that's when I realized I was in great company because everybody wished they had a gun. Jokingly, of course.
Yes. Okay.
Proverbial.
Yeah.
Proverbial. Yeah.
Oh my.
So we were all on the same page, but oh my good Lord. I even took a picture of it. I disbelief. He was wearing, the rest of his gear was shorts and a white tank and a rhinestone cowboy hat.
Oh,
Interesting.
I see.
Different.
Different.
But that aside, it was propaganda free, much to my relief. So,
Well, that's
not even one of those hideous flags. Not one. I couldn't believe it.
nifty. Well, you know, their month kind of came to an end, right? So,
Well,
but
considering how aggressive they can be, I don't know.
yeah.
But yeah.
Well, on
So
Parliament
there you
Hill-
have it. And I didn't.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I'm sorry I didn't catch much of the fallout of the flag in Ottawa and stuff because I was out and all of that.
Yeah, there really wasn't much
But,
fallout because it was pretty low key overall.
Yeah.
They didn't really have much profile. They didn't actually get onto the hill. So
Okay.
the confrontation that might have happened with police really didn't. Adrian, the realist, called in, or I called him, and he indicated on Canada Day that 30 of the flags had been confiscated, but then we found out when we interviewed the people who were actually there that that wasn't quite the case. So I guess there was a bit of a misunderstanding there. Unless I misunderstood him, he said they got onto the hill and they raised one flag on the hill, but actually it didn't happen on Parliament Hill. They were raising it at a monument off the Parliament Hill property, and
like the Terry Fox one, or
no, it was it's like a I'm not sure which one it was, but it's I think it's like a war monument, pays tribute, I think, as well to First Nations veterans or something. I'm not exactly sure where it was. Wasn't clear in my mind. But and they didn't have 30 flags. They had 3, one of which was this new war flag thing that they have that
war flag.
Really? It's the the Thunderbird war flag.
Huh.
But anyway, I don't want to comment too much more about it. For fear of setting off another firestorm of attacks, and, misguided, misunderstood, emotional reactions. So.
Yeah, I understand that completely.
Yeah.
So, do you have any reactions about the clackers or anything?
The clackers? No, nobody got upset about that. I love that stuff, though. I'll tell you, I love reminiscing and all that retro stuff. To me, it's not
I know. Yeah.
To me, it was just yesterday.
No, me neither. I know, right? I think that's the truth. Oh my gosh!
And if you
all this business with,
you just got to look up clackers, 1970s.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, do you know anything about the release of the Sound of Freedom, Rick? I've been trying to find a way to be able to watch it because it's not available where I am.
Yeah.
Do you know of any streaming sites or anything? Have you heard?
No, I'm not sure. I've been hearing about it. I haven't seen it. I've seen different reactions to it. I really don't know that much about it. I think Leo watched it, and when he comes on later in the broadcast, maybe he can tell us more. I think he has a
please ask him about it.
Yeah,
it'd be great if you asked him about it, because maybe he'll know a way to stream it from somewhere, because it's not available here at all.
Yeah,
and I would really like to see it, actually. So. So I'll be digging around for that. I've heard great things. I mean, there's some people that are, they're going to be unhappy about everything, I think.
Yeah.
But, but I've heard it's quite the look at everything, and
Well,
quite the
child
eye-opener.
trafficking, that's really what it focuses on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the human trafficking and all that kind of stuff. And the exposure to all that, of all that, right?
Yeah.
And the reality of how real it is in Canada as well. It's everywhere in the world, and Canada's in the thick of it too. And I think it's important. I think everybody should watch it, get informed, right? But so that's been my thing, trying to find out about where I can watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak to it. I don't know really anything about it other than just, very superficial surface information, just a little bit of people talking about it. I understand it's been quite popular.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, looking to watch it. So I've definitely got to check it out.
It's been selling out everywhere. It's beat all the box offices that it is at. So, which is a good sign. It means people want to know truth. Well, how about that? Isn't that something? That's a good thing. So, but yeah, this business with, we have nothing to do with the war, but we're going to sell you some, gear and stuff. Like, really?
Yeah.
They really do believe we're a bunch of zombie idiots, right? Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah. And what about these riots?
Anyway.
I guess, we've seen these riots in France, and now they're sort of spilling over into Montreal. I'm going to bring up this video. I'll get you to comment on this too. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but.
Yeah, I'm looking at the screen now because I'm out of the kitchen.
Yeah. So here's some footage of some of what went on in Montreal.
How unfortunate. I'm not seeing it on my screen.
Oh, you're not seeing it?
Must be a delay.
Yeah.
There must be a delay on. I can hear it. I got sirens and stereo from that in with that though. In my background here.
Oops.
Okay, now I can see it.
Yeah, it's not as
very small little.
Yeah, not what we're getting in France, that's for sure.
But even still, for Montreal, that's kind of interesting. Huh. Why would it spill into Montreal when it's a totally different country, is my question.
Sure.
That might be a really dumb question. But
I'm not sure. Maybe because it's French.
That's the only tie-in, really, isn't it?
I can think of, yeah. The only thing I can think of. Well, here's another video that I'll share as well. This is a video from France where a local police officer is telling Sky News that what they're experiencing there, it's not riots, it's war. And he says they want to kill us. He's referring to mostly, immigrants and refugees that he says are hurling Molotov cocktails and large paving stones at law enforcement. So here we go. Hang on. I'll share it with you and we'll hear what he has to say.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hang on. I didn't get it on the screen again. Some technical problems here tonight, but hang on.
Oh, that's okay.
I'll get her up on the screen.
You're doing good for someone with a bad headache.
They throw at us to try to kill us, not to play with us.
I can hear it.
It's difficult to explain. People talk about riots, but for those of us who have to deal with it, they aren't riots. It's war. The people who are standing in front of us
Yeah, I
are there
remember
to kill us.
that.
They have Molotov cocktails, they have stones, they come to within 3 meters in front of us. They have enormous paving stones which they throw at us to try to kill us, not to play with us. They are there to kill us.
Yeah.
It's difficult to explain. People
So what do you think?
Well, meanwhile, Macron's pulling a Trudeau. He's nowhere to be seen, right?
Yeah.
Right out of the WEF playbook, right? Let havoc, create the havoc, let it run amok, don't show up, go hide. Or what did Macron do? Go to a concert?
Yes, he did.
While
Yeah.
Paris was burning?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have zero respect for any of these people, that are supposed to be in these high paid positions by we, the people. Yeah, it's ridiculous. He's doing he's handling it the same way Trudeau would. He doesn't. And, when all hell breaks loose, and what are they going to do? What's it called? Martial law. I don't know what it is. And what are they going to do?
Yeah.
They're going to blame it on the people.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So they'll blame it on the people, even though, again, the people in position that needs to quell all of this, that should be going out and talking to the people, calming things down and all of that, are missing in action. And they're solely responsible for all of it, but the people are going to pay for it.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just, I'm way past any kind of hope in any of these so-called leaders, right? They're just a waste of taxpayers' money in more ways than I can even get into. And they all need to somehow be held accountable. How that can happen, I have no idea. But I mean, simply, if these leaders did their jobs, this stuff wouldn't be happening.
Do you watch much
in a nutshell, right?
Do you see much of the material that Karim Assad produces when she goes to these protests? Do you know?
I haven't seen. I've seen some of her stuff. She sure walks into some hornet's nest.
Yeah. Well, here's another one. This is from 20 hours ago. So yesterday, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, she gets all these protests. She goes to them all. I actually like what she does because I think she's actually pretty impartial. She sort of mostly just lets stuff unfold. They get the footage. She sometimes comments a little bit, but she's got this unique. It's raw footage mostly in it, but it's her own style. I like what she does. Anyway, let me just roll this. I think most people misunderstand her.
Is this the scooter one?
Yeah. Well, look at that.
Yeah, these people are off the chart.
Every day. This stuff's going on like almost every day.
It's incredible. Well, yeah, and wasn't it indicated like that they're probably paid by our government to instigate this silliness?
Well, these pride groups, these organizations, they are funded by government. They get government money now, and then I'm sure
it's ridiculous.
And then there's funding for these drag queen story times and these other things that are going on in the schools. That's why they're happening. The government is paying for it, no doubt. And so then you get, people upset and you get protests and conflict. And, this what's her name there? Deanna Sheriff, I think is her name. She's an activist. She's at all of these protests. She's, how can I put this? Vocal. Right.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like it's all just coming to a head, boils over. I can't believe how much of this we're getting. I'd like to ignore it.
I can't either, but
But there it is.
I would love to ignore it, but it's always in our face.
Exactly, just like that megaphone in that guy's face right there.
Yeah, that's insane. Like these people, like, I'm surprised that it hasn't been a lot more violent.
Yeah.
Like, people are dealing with it remarkably well, considering, like, this kind of stuff. If that woman did that to me, I would lose my mind on her.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing I'm here just twisting bacon and making brown butter bites. Everyone's safer.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed.
Oh gosh, yeah. I just cannot believe this kind of silliness. But I mean, it's obvious with the government putting money into these to be happening. They want it to be happening, and so you have to look at why. Why do they want it to be happening? They want chaos. They want all this stuff because they want to actually be able to use the Emergency Act most likely and do it legitimately, because last time they couldn't pull it off legitimately. My humble opinion.
Yeah,
But
well, they certainly.
I can
no question they want us fighting. I think Trudeau loves it when we fight. I think he feels he gains political support that way. He separates the people, and then the people become more emotionally involved and entrenched in their political position. It cements his support.
Yeah.
In my view.
Well, yeah, definitely. And Trudeau at his Canada Day celebration, he was in Ottawa, I guess, wasn't he? I don't know if you saw any of those clips, but there was a lady that went right up there. Can't remember her name, and she was basically not even yelling, but loudly speaking right at Trudeau, and Sophie was sitting nearby as well. And she called him out, said everything that I think all of us would have wanted to say to him. And there he was sitting in, guess what socks he was wearing?
And
he was proudly wearing, with that smirk on his face, his lovely little Pride socks.
There you go.
Like the man is like, come on. He's so unprofessional. It's just insane. But yeah. Anyways, I think I'm boring the people in the chat because I'm seeing some of the comments. I just took a look.
Well, don't worry about that.
Yes, I know we knew all this before, guys. And
well, we're going to move on. We've got Steve up next, but thank you for calling in and helping to carry the show through. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem. Say hi to Steve for me. I always like his calls. And yeah, do ask Leo about the Sound of Freedom for me, will you?
We will do that. I know
Thank
he's
you so
listening
much.
right now. So you just asked.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sure he'll comment on it.
Great. Perfect.
Thank you. Okay, see ya.
Have a great night. Hope your head feels better.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah. All right, Steve, how are you tonight?
Oh, I'm all right, Rick. Good to talk to you. It's been a while again.
Yes.
And hello to, I think she goes by Notable there. I always like to be before her because I can't usually follow up after her. But yeah, I was just calling about, you had mentioned about Montreal just a couple of minutes ago. Excuse me. If I'm not mistaken, there's a flag draped over the back of somebody in the pictures there. And I think if you were to look that up, you would find that I wondered if it was the Algerian flag. It's certainly not that, but I think it's the Saharan Arab Democratic Republic.
Okay.
Northwest Africa. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, I don't know if that's a help. I think you said you're not sure what it was, or I mean, what they were doing or what it was about. I just thought maybe it's an Algerian flag, and anyway. So, but it wasn't. That's all I'm saying. I don't think, anyways. I didn't check what the Algerian flag looked like again today, so.
I don't know. I don't think it's an Algerian flag.
No, yeah.
It's on his back.
I think
if
you look at it,
kind of the right colors, but
I don't know if it's video. It's only a few seconds into the video, but it's like a 4-color flag, and there'll be a red symbol on it. But it's the wedge on the side that
my guess is.
me.
Let me just see.
That's how I figured.
My guess is it's a Palestinian flag. I think. Let me just.
Oh.
I think I've got it. My guess is it'll be a Palestinian flag. Yeah. You're looking at it right there. Oops. Yeah, that's a Palestinian flag. Mm-hmm. Oh, hang on. You know what? We lost your feed. Let me get you back up on the screen because when I am so out of it tonight with my head. Okay, there you go. No, you're not. Hang on. Oh, this gets so complicated, and I'm all by myself, of course. There, now they can hear you. All right, let's back up again. So, Steve, because they couldn't hear you, I didn't have you on the screen. This is the Palestinian flag, and you were saying that you thought it reminded you of something else.
Yeah, it reminded me of Sahara. What is it? Saharan Arab Democratic Republic. That's what the flag it looked like to me, anyway. But yeah, I see that you're right. You know what? I'm curious why I got that so far wrong. So I want to see that flag again.
Well, I mean,
you should look.
It flashed across the screen. I froze the image here for you, so it's easy to not understand or know exactly what it is, especially when it's just draped on someone's back like that. You're just seeing colors, not the full flag. So,
they're almost identical.
Yeah.
Well, I accidentally deleted it, but yeah, they're almost identical except for the symbol on them. Interesting. Huh. Anyway. Yeah, in the white part, there's a symbol of the other flag. Anyway, yeah, it's up near Morocco in West Africa.
Yeah. So what else is on your mind?
Oh, yeah. Debanking. I guess you probably heard about Nigel Farage. He got debanked.
Oh, did he?
Okay. Well,
didn't hear that.
Yeah, he got debanked a few weeks ago or so, but he finally came out with it over the weekend. He carried it on his show. He's on GB News.
Yeah.
And anyway, that prompted a whole lot of other people of note to come out and say, yeah, I was debanked as well. So I was stunned at how many people in the media in the UK have been debanked, just like similar to here. Actually, on GB News, at least 2 others came out and said that they've experienced it to an extent. Nigel Farage has tried 9 other banks. He made another statement today. 9 other banks, they've all turned down. He thinks he's going to have to leave the UK. He's taken time off work to get it sorted out. And so, I mean, it's pretty substantial for him. And then Neil Oliver,
he's saying that it should be completely unacceptable for banks to close accounts on political grounds. And I agree. That should not be allowed to happen. If you're a citizen of a country, they shouldn't be able to discriminate against you in that manner.
Yeah. Well, the UK is, it's going through a whole lot of the things that we're going through.
Yep.
I was surprised at how parallel their news is. I mean, in some ways I'm not surprised, but in other ways I am. I find that they're much more open about it, especially what's going on in their parliament. So I like watching some of their news, and I just check in with it. And I wish we had a GB News here, because they're pretty wide open about what they talk about. I find, I'm sure that I know there's a bias, and they don't hide it. I'm sure they're muted on certain things, but nothing I can pick out or say. Yeah, they're pretty wide open.
Well,
but it's very concerning.
It should be very concerning to everyone. Politics is politics, you know, like this is actually a violation of people's rights. That's what it is.
And they told him it was his Paul.
Yeah, like here's a story about it. Nazir Farage.
Yeah,
Minister warns banks against closing accounts. It's just not right. And it doesn't surprise me to see things in lockstep from country to country to country. All you have to do is just look at the propaganda campaigns that we've seen over the past 3 or 4 years. The media, it's like the politicians all use the same exact phrases for things. We're all in it together. What are some of the other ones that we've heard? You know, this is an opportunity for a great reset. When the pandemic started, they use all the same catchphrases from country to country to country.
You know how some of them seem to make different things a priority? You could pretty much lift their headlines and put them in as your headlines.
Absolutely.
Like you have the Netherlands, more about the farmers and nitrogen or whatever. And, Ireland, it's almost always about the immigration. Well, I just find that with England in particular, they seem very parallel to us in their news coverage. And while we're talking about debanking, I was very sorry to hear that Morgan May also got debanked. Jeremy was talking about that. So yet another brave Canadian has received the heavy hand of, I don't know, whatever authority seems that they can do that. You know who I mean, obviously.
I do, yeah. Jeremy McKenzie's better half.
Exactly.
Yeah, partner.
So it continues here, and it's just spreading. We know about the Americans and their experiences.
Yeah, I mean, people are worried about the central bank digital currency and the power that will give, government and corporations over people. They already have it. I mean, not to the same degree but they can debank you. Well, it has exactly the same effect. Now you can't participate in society. What are you supposed to do?
Exactly. I want to make a point about that. My biggest concern about this is its connection to speech. And I mean, these people, we're losing our bank accounts because of what we say, not because of, what we're buying or what we're doing with the money, which would make far more sense. It's because of what we're talking about. But, there's a little part of me that wants them to debank, and kick as many people out as they possibly can to force a solution, because you can't have somebody on a CBDC if they don't have any money in a bank or in an account, right? So let's force this solution now. Debank them all, as far as I'm concerned. Debank me and everybody I know, so we are forced to find a solution, because I can't find anybody, nobody around me wants to talk about it. Well, this is just the way it goes here in Canada. It's like, no, it doesn't have to go that way, right? These things happen because their theories put to practice, change the theory. It's just like our government. We change the theory, we can change the form. And anyway, I'm not saying get rid of the government. That's not where I was going with that. But these are theories to practice, and that's all the power they have from the people, from the thinkers, from the people that deploy and employ these theories. So, and right now they're beating us all over the place with employing their theories.
Ultimately, any government, regardless of the system of government that you have, it doesn't matter if it's a a democracy, communism, even dictatorships. They only are able to stay in power if they have the support of the people. It doesn't matter what kind of government it is. If the government gets bad enough, it doesn't matter. The people will eventually revolt. Even if it's a king, they will revolt if it gets bad enough. But it has to get to a pretty bad place generally, because people usually live in some degree of fear of the authorities, right? They don't want to get arrested, thrown in jail. They don't want to suffer. But if there's enough suffering already, people will revolt in any society.
Right. Yeah, you just sparked one of my thoughts too. I brought this up with you one other night. I wasn't very good at explaining it, but the idea of us having a king,
mm-hmm.
if we're performing the way that he should, he could represent our values over longer periods of time than a government, and over generations even.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the functions of the king. His mother was very good at this. And when governments come and go, they change. But with a monarchy, if they represent the people, if they're first among equals, they can represent our, values more to the point and over a longer period of time than a government can. And that's the value I see in having a monarch
mm-hmm.
included in our parliamentary system. But I mean, all parliamentary systems
that is what
are failing right now.
Yeah, that's what our system was supposed to be based on. That the king, the monarchy, was supposed to be there to provide stability. While you go through these elections and you have a change of government here and a change of government there, the monarchy provides the foundation for the democracy, even though it's a king or a queen is not elected, but the system is supported by the king or the queen. It doesn't mean they get involved in the day-to-day decisions. Parliament does that in the House of Commons, which is the house of the common people, us, the citizens. So in that way, we already have a government of the people, by the people, for the people, supposed to be. But then when you get a government that's out of control, that's when the monarchy is supposed to step in and say, hey, wait a minute, this isn't really working. If you elect, for instance, a government that wants to do away with elections, either overtly and obviously, or in a subversive manner where you're not really seeing it. And I think that's really what part of the problem is. You have these manipulations of media, paying off the media to skew public opinion, and just all these other ways that they go about it. But that's what the monarchy was supposed to be about. It's supposed to provide the stability for a free democratic society. And if a government gets out of line, the king can rein them in and say, hey, wait a minute, you're not practicing democracy anymore. Now you're out of line. So if that's what I was always taught, and I think that the system could, and I think it did work that way for quite a long time. If you elect, say, a communist government, they say no more elections. The king steps in and says, no, there will be elections.
Right. Among honorable people and strong men, it should and can work fine. It's unfortunate that it is not. He is far too aligned. And remember, how many times did he have his hand slapped by the Queen for his political initiatives and his overstepping? And I mean, fighting for the democracy. Look at Ukraine. What democracy? I'm concerned that there will be an excuse at some point, and we don't get to vote Trudeau out. I mean, that's one of my concerns. I saw just right before I tuned in to you there earlier, Michelle Rumpel, she was saying that there may be a snap election that she wants to get prepared for and thinks people should be prepared for because maybe you know this. Am I telling you something you know?
No, I don't know. I'm skeptical, but keep going. I'm not sure that will happen, but anything's possible.
Yeah, it was a very quick video. It was 2 minutes 11 seconds. It just went up just before your show came on. Her concern is that with the interest rate hikes, or she thinks Trudeau is worried about, because of the interest rate hikes, that he's going to become very unpopular very quickly, and would want to get an election through before people feel the negative effects, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
I didn't pay a heck of a lot of attention to it, but anyway, I just saw snap election possible, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to click on that.
It's
and then I switched
possible.
over to
I
you.
thought he would want to go to the polls early as well, but then all this Chinese interference stuff erupted, and I think that's why we haven't had an election. It was too embarrassing for him. It was hurting him in the polls, so he's waiting. But the economy, that's another big concern.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, Rick. Sorry, you just really triggered me there. Can conservatives help him out anymore? What is with Candace Bergen saying, oh, we need to worry about Iran right now and their influence over our people? Is that like what, to relieve him of this negative attention over China? What are you doing? One, you don't help out your enemy when they're stepping in it. And two, really? Is that a bigger problem, Iran right now? Or does somebody have an initiative they want to take on? Like, I don't know what that's about, but I just saw that as a headline. I was like, what are you doing? Like, how? Oh. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, they seem to have him on the ropes, with this Chinese stuff. They need to keep pushing.
Not anymore.
Front, but yeah, you're backing off, right? Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't believe that. I was like, I'm gonna have to look into this and see what she's up to. But it couldn't be a bigger help. Here, let me pull you up, Trudeau. You look like you're stumbling a bit. From the conservative. I mean, and her of all people. I had a bit of faith in that one for a while.
Yeah.
But I don't know, Rick. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That made me angry when I.
Any thoughts on this Save the Children convoy that we heard about last night in more detail?
Well, yeah, but he didn't put out a heck of a lot about it. I'm for relationship building and stuff. Like yourself, probably my concern would be about tearing down the government or whatever. I didn't get the impression that, well, one, they would be prepared for that. Two, that maybe their intention wasn't actually to tear it down, even though at times it sounded like it was.
Yeah.
It seems like they want to occupy and run it as it is. It reminded me, and I ended up talking to somebody about this afterwards. I was in like grade 6 or 7, and my teacher was talking about the different forms of government that we have in Canada, and we were learning about Parliament Hill and all these things. And afterwards, I was like, he had mentioned all the parties we had, and he had mentioned Canada Communist Party. Mm-hmm. And anyway, it was after class, and I said to him, where would communists run the government? And he said, on Parliament Hill, of course. I said, well, I guess that makes sense. Where would the Liberals and Conservatives go? He says, they would be there too. And I said, no, they wouldn't. And he's like, remember, I'm like 12 or 13, not even, I'm like 11 or 12. I'm like, no, they wouldn't. He's like, why not? I said, we're talking about a communist party. And he's like, so why wouldn't the Conservatives and Liberals, they'd be there as opposition? I'm like, communists don't have opposition. And I couldn't figure out how he couldn't figure it out. And I like politics when I was young. But anyway, so he couldn't figure out what I was getting at, and I couldn't figure out what he was getting at. I'm like, they'd run them out of the building. If they're like, I'm thinking Chinese storm in, and all of a sudden we have communist occupation, or back then probably USSR. I don't know. Yeah. No, it would have been, it would have still been USSR. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so he's like, no, it wouldn't work like that. They'd still have votes. I'm like, communists don't vote. Like, not really. Come on. And was I off base as a 12-year-old over that teacher or what? But anyway, anyway.
No, I mean, it depends on,
I don't know what
depends on the government and, how a communist government would choose to operate. But I think you're basically right. Yeah. I mean, in China, they do have opposition parties, but it's not real. Not really. Right. It's no real opposition.
Oh, I remember why I was thinking about that, because you had asked about last night in the convoy. So, yeah, so yeah, if you're going to bring down the government, obviously you have to have everything running again in a heartbeat. Not even a heartbeat, has to be simultaneous, or you'll have chaos and riots. You'll have, I mean, you don't want police wondering if they're getting a paycheck, because who's going to be on the street to prevent the riot? Like,
exactly.
Yeah, so I'm not in favor of bringing down the government, but I really am in favor of lightening our government. It is far too big and way too top heavy.
Yep.
And these raises that they get, they need to stop getting raises. They will have no concern for what us so-called common folk are about. If if they continue to get raises and they don't feel the pressure as well, and all they're doing is further taxing the population, they'll have no concept of what everybody else is going through. And right now they don't. And 4 raises in under 3 years, unacceptable. Unacceptable. Unless you're a private business.
Give me your thoughts on that. Give me your thoughts on this, because this is an observation that I think there's some irony in this. Okay. We keep hearing from different groups, like they want Trudeau charged with treason. They accuse the government of being treasonous. But what is the definition of treason? Well, that would be someone that works against the interests of the government. But the government's in power. So the government's exercising its power and running the country the way the government wants. But then you have people calling for the teardown of the system, and they're not in power. And so, in my estimation, while they're saying they want Trudeau arrested for treason, and they're calling basically for, they want to burn it all down, that's actually a call for treason. And they don't understand that when they confront the government with those kinds of demands, right, they're the ones who are actually acting in a treasonous manner. Now, if you look at the opposition parties, why are they not treasonous? Why are the Conservatives not treasonous, or the NDP? Why are they not treasonous when they're opposing the policies of the government? Well, it's because they have been duly elected by the people to represent an alternative point of view, and they are referred to as His Majesty's loyal opposition. They're the loyal opposition, because they're loyal to the king, which is to be loyal to the system, not specifically necessarily to the king, but to the system. They're not there to tear the system down, but they are there to oppose the government policies and offer alternative points of view and engage in civil discussion in the House, right? So I just find it ironic that the very people who are calling for the prime minister to be arrested for treason, which I understand the point of view, but they're the ones who actually want the government torn down. And so that's why the government gets a little worried about them. Do you see what I'm saying? And give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I do see what you're saying. I think that a number of people that are saying his actions are treasonous don't want the government torn down. There are those that do and those that don't.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
I think that there's a large number of people that want him arrested for treason, that want them to do their jobs at Parliament, and everything keeps on ticking. And there is a group that wants everything torn down, wants him hung and drawn for treason, along with some others. Excuse me. But yeah, like you're saying, 1776, there was that was treasonous. I mean, it produced something beautiful, but the rebellion was treason.
Yeah, they had to have
a
war.
Totally different.
They had to go to war to get what they wanted.
Sorry?
They had to go to war to get what they wanted.
And it was a totally different scenario because they weren't in the country. It wasn't like a revolution within the country. They were on a different continent altogether. Yep. Things were a lot different. We could talk about this for the rest of the night, but so I think that was quite a bit different. And I want them to do their jobs. I want them to do it properly. I want government to thin itself out. I want them to repeal all kinds of laws. But I don't think we need to become a republic. Maybe we could, and that would work. But I think the growing pains, I don't think we're ready for it. I don't think people in Canada are grown up enough or tough enough, from what I see,
Well, I
to
don't
deal
know.
with
Like,
the growing pains.
I mean, you mentioned a republic. People seem to think some people are calling for Canada to become a republic like the United States. But when I look south of the border, I don't see that they're really any better off than we are overall. It's, in fact, in some ways, they're worse
Not
off.
if-
It depends on the issue and what part of the states you're in. But they have a lot of trouble down there too. I don't think that it just solves the problem by going from like a dominion to a republic. I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary. I do think a couple of tweaks and a couple of laws would make a big difference, mainly around personal rights. I think that would make a lot of people feel a lot better, and they would change their opinion about switching over to a republic.
Yeah.
And it would, I mean, we're talking about very complicated systems.
Yes.
Our system, when you think about all the moving parts, is very complicated. And we have a few weak links. And same with the United States. It's very complicated. I think, personally, our Governor General, I think that's a terribly inappropriate person and weak. I mean, come on. You saw the article about, what was it, 2 limes on a trip to the Arab Emirates for $1,000 and a $200 glass of orange juice. There's no empathy for what we're going through, if that's true. I know that the bill was in the neighborhood of $100,000 plus or minus just on in-flight catering. Actually, I think Rebel News had that as a headline this week. That's where I saw the number again. But I just remember being disgusted by the 2 limes.
Yeah.
$500 a lime. Like, no excuse for that.
True enough.
And it wasn't even for her, apparently.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think we need to tear it down. I do understand why people think it needs to be torn down. But I do think it needs to be weeded out and thinned out and pared down, including the laws. We need to repeal some laws. A lot of laws. Excuse me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And we've just promoted so much nonsense. And now we have a generation or two that is coming up believing in things that aren't real. And they believe it as though it was real. I mean, they basically formed religions along the way. And so it would be so hard, Rick, to actually do that paring down and trimming and weeding out. It's going to be ugly for a long time.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, they want to re-educate me, and I want to re-educate them. So, come on. I know who's right in my opinion, and I'm sure that, well, I've seen them. You showed a person with a megaphone who's obviously somewhat convinced that they're right about that. And I don't know how we would ever find, too much ground. I'm willing to give a lot. And I think most Canadians are. That's how we got here. I mean, Canadians are willing to give a lot of ground just to be peaceable. And I think we need to stop giving ground. Well, I know we need to stop giving ground. We need to stand up and assert our rights and assert ourselves and what is true and hold to the truth. You can't be found wrong ever if you're telling the truth. And we can go through a lot of pain by telling the truth, but you can't ever be faulted for telling the truth. And I just pray that, we can find our way. It's dark times. And I'm nervous. I have my own troubles right now, and I'm concerned. And I can't find a path clear. And I've never been in a point where I can't find a clear path ahead. I'm nervous. Things have just become very difficult.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't want to get into any of that. Sorry, there's a motorbike ripping by. It's actually been relatively quiet on my street right now. I'm sitting outside.
Yeah. Anything else you want to touch on tonight, sir?
No, I appreciate you taking the call. We talked for far longer. I was just going to say, I think I know where that flag's from, and look what came of it. but I do appreciate the time and you hearing me air my thoughts, and I always appreciate it, Rick.
Thank you, Steve.
The great 3 or 4 hours that you put on every night, and we don't always agree, but I much rather disagree with you than someone else.
Well, actually, the more we talk, the more we get, the closer we get. So I think it's been great.
Well, I don't think you and I disagree on very much at all. It's details that we disagree about.
True enough, yeah.
And I can give up a few details.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know that you've given it thought. Like I said that night, we had that really long conversation. I know you give it thought, and that means a lot to me to know that when somebody's going to say that I'm wrong, that I know that they've given it thought. That means a lot to me, and I'm willing to sit there and listen. It's not like you didn't give it thought when you told me I was wrong. So I appreciate it. Anyway, I'm taking up more of your time. I'm sure you have calls.
All right. Thank you.
Good night, Rick.
Appreciate it. Take care, sir. All right. Let's take a quick break here, and I'll be right back after this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Fear not the storm, for truth is on our side. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so this isn't news, but it is what happened to me today. So I had someone phone me. Maybe it's a commentary on where we're at in society. And he said, and I picked up the phone. I said, hello, this is Rick. He said, hello. And I said, who is this? He says, well, would you believe me if I said it was Pierre Elliott Trudeau? And I said, I might, because everything has become so strange in 2023, and the technology has evolved to such a point where I might actually believe it, because people are cloning their cats now. For $35,000, you can get your cat cloned. And the conversation progressed, and then I pointed out that the cloning technology is almost to the point now where they can take just, a few cells from certain living things that are now deceased. And even, I don't know how it works, man, but they don't need like a lot, but just certain cells, and they can recreate, or they can clone creatures like they've been doing. What have they done? They've done mice? Now they're doing cats. I think they're on the verge of doing people if they haven't already. So I said, yeah, I would believe that. I could believe that Pierre Elliott Trudeau, Justin's father, might actually be on the line. You never know. Everything is so weird today, and truth is stranger than fiction, which I've said here just the other night. And then I was having this conversation with my wife. I'm not specifically about this, but about what sort of was, because I said, we're getting to the point where we could start to bring dead people back. And then I started to think in more abstract terms, and I thought about the ethics of that. And I thought, would I be a bad person if I didn't wish rebirth upon someone? Is it a bad thing to continue to wish continued death upon someone? Is that a sin, or is that being a bad person? If you had the ability to bring people back to life, even like, who would you bring back? You couldn't bring back everyone. You couldn't populate the entire. I mean, you couldn't repopulate the earth with all of the people who ever lived. Probably the earth probably couldn't sustain that. So would you bring back Einstein? Would you bring back, relatives, long lost relatives that you miss? Would you bring back Leonardo da Vinci? Would you bring back a construction worker who passed away in the 1950s? Who would you bring back? And are you I said, I only want to bring back people who agree with me. Only the people who think like I think get to come back to life. Anybody who disagrees with me, I wish continued death upon them. And anybody that thinks like me can come back to life. Well, I don't know if that's being a nice person or not, but see, the world would be in harmony, in more harmony if everyone agreed, right? Well, maybe I wouldn't want everyone who ever, disagreed with me to remain dead. I wouldn't wish continued death on everyone who ever disagreed with me, but I'm just joking with myself. But it's an interesting question. If we get to the point where, and we're almost there, where we have almost Jurassic Park type technology, where we could start to bring entire species back from extinction, where we could bring people back from death. Although they wouldn't be exactly the same, because as we've learned, if you clone a person, they may look very similar, but they may not be the same, because when you clone a cat, the patterns of the fur won't necessarily be the same, because those are physical attributes that are formed within the womb that are not dependent on the DNA. They're determined through external factors. Fingerprints, that's something else. You don't get the same fingerprints in a clone. Even the fingerprints of a clone are different. Every clone would have a different set of fingerprints. That's nature saying, hey, you can't mess with me. Nature is very powerful. And even though you think you're getting a carbon copy, you're not getting a carbon copy. You're getting something similar, not the original. You're getting a facsimile. Basically, a biological fax. It's not the original. It's a copy. It's a photocopy. Anyway, all of this, even though it was a pretty high-tech conversation and pretty high-tech thought process, the fact that I didn't want to bring back everybody, I guess, made my wife think that I'm turning into an old curmudgeon, which is kind of true. A little grumpy and getting grumpier all the time in my ever-increasing age. So she sent me a video, and I think she's really trying to send me a message. I'm going to play this thing. It made me laugh. I thought it was hilarious. Here we go. I think she's saying, this is me.
Ready?
Yeah.
I want that truck off my lawn.
Keep doing it.
Ready?
Yeah. I think it's funny.
I want that truck off my lawn.
Keep doing it.
Okay, I bought that truck off my lawn. Yeah, you know, you know what else prompted her to send this thing to me? I'll let you in on a little secret. But what's going on in my life? And this is why she thinks I'm an old curmudgeon, and she's quite right. We had a new door put on the house and a new lock, and I like things simple and analog. I just want a lock that opens. Give me a key and I'm happy. But no, she bought this high-tech, newfangled thing. And you can enter the thing, but you put your fingerprint on it, and that lets you in the house. So of course I was like, oh, whatever. Now I gotta learn all this new technology. And she programmed it. And then she left. And I took the dog for a walk, and I came back. And what did it do? It locked me out. Not only did it lock me out, but I kept putting my finger on the stupid lock to let me in the house. It was like, access denied, access denied, access denied. Then it goes into super alarm mode and it sets off the alarm. And it's like, woo, 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 woo. Wouldn't let me in the house. Needless to say, I got a little frustrated. So I, of course, lodged a formal complaint with my wife. And she promptly sent me that video. Anyway, there are other things going on around here too, which clearly illustrate that I am becoming grumpy in my old age. But I am excited to now bring in Leo, Mouth of the South. Hello, Leo. How are you?
You got the mouth of the South, the man without a plan to master all disasters, Rick. I'm on my lunch. So we got about a half hour, 45 minutes, as long as you want. How's that sound?
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. Tell me, we're going to talk about this Fun Guys store that you went to today in Windsor, Ontario.
Yeah.
So what are these? This is like, they have more than one of these magic mushroom stores?
13 of them. Just before the scamdemic in the lockdown and all that crap. Okay, one opened up in Dundas Square in Toronto, right, called Shroomies. Okay, and they never closed their doors like everybody else in the Dundas Square. They kept open. They did their thing, right? And I don't think they've had any problems in the Toronto area. But like I said, if the Windsor police went bananas on me, they're going to go ape shit on them.
What would prompt them to open this store in Windsor? Has there been some change in the law, a change in public attitude? Are they trying to push the issue, or what is it?
Well, here's the pushing the issue. Mushrooms been around and dates back for medical use for thousands of years, Rick. Okay, and you can look it up. Everything I'm telling you is the truth. Okay, so there's a resurgence in the use of mushrooms. Okay, we're not just talking magic mushrooms, the tiger tails. There's I could go on for days about mushrooms, okay, and the benefits. Now, people on hospice, their last dying days, they've been experimenting with mushrooms, okay? If you ever seen anybody die, I have personally held people's hands as they take their last breath, my own father and my father-in-law, okay? And it's pretty sad to see when they're in hospice, in comes a nurse every 3 hours and shoots them up with morphine or Demerol or whatever it is, fentanyl. Okay, they're comatose. So they don't even know what's happening. Where they've been experimenting with mushrooms, okay, with people with diagnosed terminally cancer, AIDS, you name it, right, to help them cope to get to the other side. Okay, and it works. So the science is there, right? It's always been there. If you look into the ancient Chinese book of medicine. Not only is cannabis, they call it an alien plant. Mushrooms are at the top too. So I don't know who's older, cannabis or mushrooms. The natives been using them. North American natives, they've known about mushrooms. South American natives been known about mushrooms. Okay, so it is what it is. Do I blame those guys? I don't at all. Okay, so the only thing that I blame the store for is there's no education. Okay, I gotta. If you listen to my video, 5 grams is right here.
Yeah.
See if you can see this package right here. Okay, that's a chocolate bar, 5 grams. I know better. Okay, I've been around town. I would never dare to eat 5 grams of mushrooms. Even if I was at a Pearl Jam concert, it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So they need to be educated on the fact that, you know what, once it's in your system, there's no diverting it. Okay, it's like cannabis. Once it's in your system, there's not a drink or anything you could take really to downplay it, right? And people green out on cannabis. You'll green out on mushrooms all the same too, right? So it'll be a bad trip, a bad experience. It'll probably scare you. You think you're going to die, but you're not going to die. Okay, you'd have to eat a pound of mushrooms. I don't even think you'd die if you eat a pound of mushrooms or a pound of pot. But there's no education, right? And that's the key. If I was to open that store, you'd be getting a pamphlet with a pamphlet with everything on it. Okay, when it comes to eating mushrooms. Okay, if you read the article from the Windsor Star, look it up. Okay, and it's funny because our counselor Augustino.
Yeah.
Okay, I know him personally. He sent me a nice message today about the store, right? And I'm like, for some reason, people think I got something to do with the store. I have zero to do with that store. But I'll tell you, if that store ain't busted in 21 days, you're going to see a lot of these stores popping up everywhere on every corner.
Yeah, so I do have the newspaper article. So this is the mainstream media version or approach to reporting on this. Says a store selling magic mushrooms is open in downtown Windsor, despite the products remaining illegal to use without a prescription. And they're talking about Fun Guys, opened in the 300 block of Ouellette Avenue. It's the 11th location, it says here, of the franchise since it launched 6 months ago, with another one planned to open soon in Montreal. So the co-owner of this company, which it says is based in Toronto, says that despite magic mushroom sales being illegal, the goal is similar to the path laid out leading to the legalization of cannabis. He says the main goal is legalization, not to make money or get rich. He says he wants to legalize this so people can get the help they need. His name is Edgars Gorbins. Any thoughts?
Well, the counselor, Renato Augustino, okay, for my ward for downtown, it's gotten the shit. There was an article in the paper the other day that actually said that Windsor is one of the safest downtown city centers in the country, in the top 10. Well, I beg to differ. My wife was at the casino, was it Saturday night? I think we were chatting early in the morning anyways, but I went into work at 2 in the morning, finished at 10 in the morning. My wife called me from the casino. She said, "Can you pick me up from the casino?" It was 1 o'clock in the morning. I said, "Yeah, sure." On my way to work, she didn't want to drink and drive, and I don't blame her. So I picked her up. And as we're driving downtown, you should see, it's like the night of the living dead. So he was boasting about how downtown is actually pretty safe today, a lot safer than it ever was. I beg to differ, and he put it on his Facebook, and I said, next time I'm downtown at 1 in the morning, I'll do a Facebook Live. We'll see how safe your city is. It's not safe at all. Okay, there was 8 people in a bus stop shooting dope. Okay, and my wife's like, "Oh my God, so disgusting." This guy's yelling, screaming, comes running by my truck. My wife's like, "Put the window up." She's all scared, right? Guy would have touched my truck, would have been game over, right? But it's not safe downtown. And I don't care what he says, right? But here's a counselor, okay, and I know him personally, that's made his fortunes on bars. He owns Turbo Coffee Lounge and Bar, okay, on University and Ouellette Avenue. He's had his feet in many different bars. Alcohol's the #2 killer of mankind in North America.
Yeah.
Next to tobacco. So when he says, "Oh, the downtown don't need mushrooms," well, I beg to differ. It helps with a lot of different ailments, mental illness, not only cancer, okay, mental illness, anxiety, you name it.
How does, I mean, I'm not, I
You're
know
not.
nothing. I nothing about this stuff. It's
Right.
just not my scene. So how
You'd
does
have-
this help with mental illness?
Do the research on it. And I'm not saying you eat 5 grams of mushroom, okay, it helps with your mental illness. And by the way, Lori, no, I'm not high, but my glasses are on. I'm at work. I don't play that game at work. It's dangerous if I got high. There'd be a lot of mistakes, and welders would be out tomorrow asking questions, especially when I did a video of me in a mushroom store, and my boss has all seen it, right? So how does it work for mental illness? Microdosing. Look it up, Rick. There's a lot of information. Okay. The guy to ask would be Dana Larson. Let's get Dana Larson on this show. And if you don't know who Dana Larson is, okay, if you thought the two colorful people, Neil Allard and Glenn Wells, were colorful the other night, well, Dana Larson's the guy who puts on the Vancouver 420. He's the guy who's got the mushroom stores, okay, in Vancouver.
And I should mention that Neil and Glenn are going to be on this coming Sunday with Leo.
We'll bring it up.
Again.
We'll bring it up because those guys are so educated on the topic, right? I know a lot about the topic, but these guys are, as you've seen, they're very well spoken, very well educated, okay, on it. When we got, it's all to me is a freedom of choice. Okay, if you want to go home and drink a glass of bleach, so be it. I'm not recommending you to go home, take a glass of bleach. We know what's going to happen. Okay, but the government can't stop you from taking that glass of bleach, right? Now, the only problem is, okay, it is illegal to traffic in anything illegal, period. Okay, and that's where they're going to fall short on a lot of things. The only way that they'll be able to continue to operate is if that owner is part of the Liberal Party of Canada. Because we see right now, the Canadian government actually, was it 3 licenses or 2 licenses held Canada and BC for a business to import coca leaf and produce cocaine, so they could have their safe supply of cocaine. There's no safe supply of cocaine, period. Okay, so they're going to come down on these mushroom on these mushroom stores. Hamilton, they did a bunch of raids in Hamilton. I heard from a buddy of mine today. They closed them all down. But Toronto, if they don't put this one out, it's going to be like a fire, like the marijuana stores where there are 850 stores operating, right? And then they're going to have a big problem. So my advice to those guys that were at the store, and I gave them some legal advice: do not cop to being a manager. You're just a mushroom tender behind the bar. Okay, you don't own the place. You're not the manager, because when the shit hits the fan, they're going to try and come after the owners and the managers, not the poor sap that's selling shit behind the counter. You'll get a fine at the end of the day, if that.
So if they, and they likely will go in and shut these places down and lay charges, would they not just exercise some sort of authority to get the details on the lease for the business and go after information like that to determine who the owner is?
Well, the problem is there's no legislation on it, right? It's the Cannabis Act. They could do that with the Cannabis Act, but there's nothing on psilocybin or mushrooms, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see. But in order to get the ball and chain rolling, Rick, okay, for a Supreme Court challenge, you have to get busted in the process. If you want a court injunction, you need to get busted. Okay, get in front of a judge. Okay, get a court injunction to stay open. Now, the issue is there's only 19 doctors in the country that are prescribing mushrooms for medical use. So in order to get in front of one of those 19 doctors, it's almost impossible. Okay, you'll die. If you need that medicine, okay, you'll die before you get to see a doctor, right? So when people say, "Oh no, mushrooms will make you retarded," this and that, wait till we get on the show with Glenn and Neil. Okay, they're more educated about the topic than I am. Okay, I know from my own personal, from my own personal beliefs and my own personal views, nothing wrong with me. Any drug that don't make you a productive citizen of society is a drug that should be banned. I'm a pretty good damn productive person of society. I don't miss work. I work 7 days a week. Okay. I watch the Ricky Walker show, even if I'm in the middle of the Detroit River, brother. Okay. So there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not violent today. There's no violent tendencies with me. And we'll get into that on why I started smoking marijuana and all that when we get on with Glenn. They know my story. Right. So it's a remarkable story, but it's my story. And I don't mind sharing it because, somebody else can learn from my story. Right.
Yeah. And again, Neil and Glenn are cannabis activists who have started a cannabis, what do they call it? Cannabis, not replacement, substitution program,
right,
to help addicts who are addicted to hard drugs.
It's working
in Vancouver.
Okay. Not everybody's going to be cured with the magic wand. Okay. First, you have to have the willingness to stop doing what you want to do. Okay. Until then, nothing's going to happen. Okay. Once you have that willingness, then there's roads you could take in order to get sober, right? They've helped over 200 people in Vancouver become sober on the East End sober. Now, yeah, okay, they're using medicinal marijuana in the edible forms, okay, to be sober, but it's a lot less harmful than what they were doing with crack and heroin or crystal meth or fentanyl or carfentanil, right? It was ultimately you're going to kill those people, right? So to save 200 lives, just to save one's remarkable.
So
to have 200 under your belt.
Would you say that the people running these stores, or the person, whoever it is, I guess it was, well, they mentioned the name in that newspaper article, but is there an organization behind this? Is there money behind it, trying to force the issue, trying to get charges laid so they can launch a constitutional or a legal challenge of some kind? Is there some organization to this?
It all depends who they're hooked up with. If they're hooked up with Dana Larson, he's got big bank behind him, right? And that's why I said you got to get Dana Larson on the show. Maybe I could help you get Dana Larson on the show. But Dana Larson's a guy who's very well educated on the topic, and it seems, even with the 420, here's a guy who throws a 420 festival and has Cypress Hill come and play. Okay, and don't charge a nickel for anybody to get in the gate. 80,000 people show up for a concert in Vancouver. They were overwhelmed on Sunset Beach when they had it, right? So he's very well liked. He knows his shit. Okay, he's been around town, Dana Larson, right? But for this individual here to have 13 stores, yeah, they're making money. I don't care what anybody says. They're making money. And if they were smart, they'd put at least 10% away for the lawyers.
Yeah, well, going to need something because yeah, that's coming, I expect.
I'm not going to say the store here, but on here or anywhere really. But a friend of mine owned 3 stores in Toronto, okay, cannabis stores. Mm-hmm. Well, I could talk about him. He died in Mexico, had a heart attack. Met the woman of his dreams, he thought, and they had sex, and he had a heart attack and died. Right, so at 45 years old. But he owned 3 stores, and his net worth when he died was over $13 or $14 million in 3 years. And wow. He was living in a cardboard box in Toronto before he opened his first store.
That's a pretty rapid rise, life-changing experience.
To the top. He was driving around in a Lamborghini. He had it going on, right? And the day he died, I got the call from Mexico that he was in Mexico with a bunch of people. And I thought maybe the cartel got him or something, right? No, it had nothing to do with that. He had a bad heart when he was born, right? So it finally caught up to him at 45. He wasn't into the cocaine or anything or any of that crap. He liked women, and women's what got his heart going, right? So he ended up dying.
Wow.
So, yeah. But when you look at that, these people though with the mushroom stores we call them trailblazers. Okay, it's going to be like I said, if the police don't raid these guys, I gave them 21 days, and that's being really nice. Now they've been open since last Wednesday. Okay, so it's been almost a week for them, right? I give them 21 days, and the Gestapo will be booting their doors down. Okay, and looking for a little blood. Jason Blair, the Windsor chief of police, he ain't going to stand for it. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Even though when you look out the doors, Rick, of that place on Olette Avenue, you got. I wish I should have filmed what was going on outside the doors, just on a normal day. In the middle of the day, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I think when I shot the video, okay, people yelling and screaming down the street, guy punching windows. I should have videotaped it. This is broad daylight, punching windows, yelling and screaming, people mumbling to themselves. I was like, unbelievable, right? So I don't think mushrooms are going to do anything to worsen that area at all. Period.
Well, we have real mental health crisis on our hands, I think, in both Canada and the U.S. right now for a range of reasons. I don't think there's any question about it. And, cops actually are being forced to deal with that issue day to day because we don't have the social service supports in place to help those folks. So the cops have to deal with them when they are just out on the streets.
Well, when you add alcohol and hardcore drugs into the mix of mental illness, you're going to have a raging fire.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's going to burn for a very long time. Okay, and when you don't have the government does not have the money to facilitate these people, okay, to get them the proper help like they're doing in Alberta.
Yeah.
Okay, I like what Daniel Smith is doing in Alberta. Period. They have rehabs there that you could be in there for up to over a year. Not 90 days or your neck of the woods, Westover 21-day programs. Those don't work. Brentwood's 90-day program, it don't work. Okay, it's not working. When 2% of all active addicts die, 2% recover, 98% die. That's big numbers, Rick. Something's not working. So
what was it like at the store today? Were they busy?
It got busy. It got busy, and as I shot that video, guys were going on there. Where's the store at? Right? I told them I'm on my way. Well, whatever. Get on your way. Get it while you can, because it will be shut down. But if you're in the store when the place gets raided, they're not going to charge you with possession and all that shit. Okay, it's a food.
So how do they?
You're not shooting mushrooms. You're not snorting mushrooms. You're not smoking mushrooms. You eat mushrooms. It's a food. Period.
Where would they source these?
Where would they grow them?
Yeah, like where do they just grow them, or do they?
I've
people,
never.
do they buy them, or any idea?
I've grown a lot of things, Rick. Okay, but I've always been fascinated with mushrooms. I've never had a mushroom kit. I have a mushroom kit right on the internet and grow your own damn mushrooms. And it don't take long. It only takes 3 or 4 days, but it has to be a sterile environment or they won't grow right. When it comes to mushrooms, you can buy a mushroom kit for $99. Mark Emery was selling them out of his place on Hastings Street like wildfire, right? And people would go home and grow their own mushrooms, and the spores, right? You could replant the spores, and people grow them. I think Merrick was saying she's in Kitimat. She said there's a place that grows marijuana, and right next door, a place that grows mushrooms. Right, so big mushroom farms.
Yeah, and
there's nothing. To you, it sounds alien. I get it, Rick. You've never smoked pot. You don't even drink mushrooms. You don't know much about mushrooms. But educate yourself on the topic. Everybody out there, just educate yourself. There's actually a Netflix called a documentary they went out a couple months ago, The World of Fungi.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about magic mushrooms, okay? It's all about mushrooms, right? And the benefits of mushrooms. It's a must see. Watch it and you'll go, whoa.
So we do have this special show coming back up again next Sunday. Leo's going to join our two cannabis activists again. And the reason we're doing it is we want to give everybody a chance to call in and speak to these guys directly. We didn't go to the phones at all that night, but the other night when they were on Sunday. So now 1 week later, we're going to have an encore performance, but you guys get to call in and participate in the whole show. So that's why we're doing it.
It's going to be a good show because you know what? I'm going to get super honest. Okay. And where I was and where I am today are two different things. Okay. Yeah, I got a great job. I make six figures a year, over six figures a year. Okay. And where I was 25 years ago, 30 years ago. Okay. This is how cannabis and mushrooms helped me to get to where I am today. Without them, fuck, I'd probably be in jail for the rest of my life. Right. The things that I was doing and the people I was hanging around with. Okay. The environment, we just didn't care. Right. So, but Sunday, that'll be a great show anyways. So that's facts. I'm reading some of the comments. Help me with depression big time. There you go. So there's a lot of people in the comments right now that know about mushrooms, okay, and the benefits of mushrooms, Rick. I'm not saying it's for everybody, okay, but the science is out there, the real science, the true science, not the science from from Jibbity Jabbity, okay, Johnson & Johnson, those guys. No, the real science is out there by real doctors, okay, and like I said, there's a reinsurgence of mushrooms, not just magic mushrooms, mushrooms in general. It's like dandelion leaves, right? There's antioxidants for cancer and that, right? Cauliflower. And there's plants out there that are there for medicinal use, not just for food, right? So I'm not saying you're going to eat enough mushrooms, magic mushrooms, to fill your stomach. No, that would be a bad trip. Okay, but it is what it is.
And we're seeing the federal government go after through, a change in policies, even vitamins and natural health remedies now, but that's another subject. What we do need to talk about briefly, though, did you hear a note asking you about that movie?
What movie? The Freedom movie?
Yeah, the Freedom movie.
No, I've seen it pop up on my feeds. What's that about?
I think it's about child sex trafficking largely.
Well, watching it.
I'm sorry,
I'll be watching it. I can't stand them creeps. Okay, and if it was up to me, I'd hunt them down like Nazis.
Yeah, Sound of Freedom is the name of the movie. I thought you had seen it. I thought you mentioned it the other night. Maybe you were talking about a different video or something.
Yeah, that was when I got caught with the guy from the ex Special Forces guy. Actually, his daughter was raped. Okay, and she actually gets involved where he uses his daughter for bait, and he didn't want this, right? She's the one who, you got to watch it, right? But it's true, right? And his daughter stood up, okay, and she was baiting in these guys, these pedophiles and rapists and shit, right? And they were nabbing them as they were coming through the doors. It was very interesting to watch. I tip my hat off to that guy, okay, his family and that organization that's behind him, okay, because he's making change, and that's the thing, right? And when they explained about the elite pedophile group, the elite, that's what really got me. When you have the judges, the lawyers, the people that are passing these laws, okay, that are all part of this, okay, it's not the Epstein thing, nothing to do with that, okay. At the end, this elite group is just brutal, and they're out there. You just got to catch them, right?
Yeah. Well, you've got also people who go on vacations and engage in pedophilia. They underage prostitutes, like they take sex holidays and go to countries where they think they're going to be immune from any kind of prosecution, right?
Yeah, they go to places like Cambodia where their parents are actually, a lot of parents are selling their kids in Cambodia and Thailand or wherever, where it's third world, right? They don't have much to eat, so they offer up their kids on the table, right? It's a sick fucking world, Rick, plain and simple. And it's the Westerners and the Europeans that are feeding it. Okay, like you said, sex tourism. There's been a number of people that have been to Cuba thinking they're going to go to Cuba and get laid, right? Well, next thing you know, it's an underage girl. And people don't know this, but in Cuba, prostitution's illegal. Okay. Chrysler workers, married men, they go there, right? Yeah. And then they get nabbed. Explain that to your wife. Explain that to your employer as you're sitting in a Cuban jail eating cabbage 3 times a day for who knows how long, right? So it looks good on them. Plain and simple looks good on them. They should be getting a couple boots to the face is what they should be getting too by these governments.
I hear you. Anything else you'd like to talk about tonight? Anything you think that maybe I've missed here?
Yeah, these right off the topic here. I posted something the other day about. Actually, I posted it last night, not the other day. Joe Biden, when he was in before president, we're talking 20 years ago, passing the cocaine laws 30 years ago, talking about how crack cocaine, enough the size of a quarter, you will be in prison for 5 years. Okay, no passing go. You will lose your house. You will lose everything. Okay, because U.S. drug laws are pretty strict like that, right? Where they come in and they clean you right out. Okay, once you got that felony drug conviction, it's game over for a lot of people, even if it's just for personal use. But a quarter, the size of a quarter, okay, and then it skips over to Hunter Biden with a big bag of crack, smoking it. Different strokes for different folks, right? Sickening, guys, sickening. So, with all that being said, Rick, I do got to get back to work. I'm busier than usually I am, and I got to get her done, right? But
thank you, Leo.
See you Sunday, guys.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
All right. And there you have it, folks. And that gets us very close to 8:30 p.m. And with that, I will wrap things up for the night. You can support the channel by donating at freedomreporters.com or maverickdonations.com. Like, share, subscribe. We really need the support that way. Please consider subscribing over on Rumble. And if you do subscribe on YouTube, make sure you hit the notification bell. That way you'll get the notifications every time we send out a new video. And we're on other platforms too, like Twitter, where I don't know, we could use some more followers on the Twitter channel that we're on. I suck at Twitter. We don't really have much going on over there, but maybe I'm sure I'm just not doing it right. But we'll improve as time goes on. I will be back tomorrow night. We'll take another kick at the can, and hopefully my headache is gone and I'm a little sharper and things run a little bit smoother. So thank you, everyone. Really, really appreciate you spending the time here tonight. And I will be back 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. Catch you on the flip side.